Hey everybody, this is Alzorath, and welcome back to Diablo 2! We are doing another build video today, and this one is a druid. There was actually a request on one of the more mundane videos for someone wanting to see more druid builds, more odd druid builds. So I'm going to do an odd druid build today. You're not going to like this one. This is actually a variant on a Mauler. I call it the Firebear. This is a very stupid build, but it works against crowds. It's kind of really junky versus bosses, as you can see in the background of us fighting Bale. I might even actually have to speed up the fight versus Bale, just because it takes a while to kill bosses with it. You can counter this by actually putting Guillaume's face on it, or getting some more crushing blow. It's perfectly reasonable to do so. I'm just doing it this way because that's what I had available on him, and that's what I felt like building around. And also, I wanted resists, so that's one of the reasons we actually have the helmet that we have on this. And you guys may have just seen me flick to it. And also, I wanted faster hit recovery. Those are the two reasons I didn't go with Guillaume's, but Guillaume's is a good alternative to this, and it'll actually speed up your boss kill speed. It will kind of mess with you whenever you're dealing with crowds, but this can actually counteract that with its abilities, which we'll talk about in just a second. Because first things first, we got to go into stats. Strength, enough for equipment. Dexterity, this is actually an important situation with dexterity. Only enough for equipment. You do not want max block with this build. You will get block locked. Just putting that one out there, you don't want max block with a Mauler either, unless you are building specifically for faster block speed. Otherwise, you will regret it. You will get block locked. And just putting that one out there. But you can see our chances are actually terrible to hit. That's why we have more target defense. And that's why we work so good against normal enemies rather than big ones. Vitality, just everything else. Nothing in energy, you don't need it. You recover your mana fast enough. You can see we have a Holy Freeze mercenary wandering around with Conviction. We actually use that Conviction to help us hit. That does help us not have to invest in dexterity even more. We are using an Infinity mercenary. It's just our standard Infinity setup with just our really good Infinity and then just Andariels and Fortitude. We could use Vampire's Gaze, anything on him really, just make him tanky so he sticks around. As far as our skills, we're gonna do those. Yeah, we'll go ahead and do skills. We'll leave it confusing as to why we're choosing the skills. I was debating switching up the order there, but anyway, skill-wise, we are gonna start in the elemental tree. You'd think for a guy that turns into a bear, you're not gonna want the elemental tree, but I think some of you who know items in this game have figured out what I'm doing. But we've got Molten Boulder and Fissure at 20. Reason being, there's synergies with Firestorm. But Firestorm? You're not using Firestorm. Ah, but I am. We'll see in a second why. We've got Lycanthropy at max, just because I want to stay in a bear as long as possible. You don't have to use it. You don't have to have it maxed out. It'll be fine. You just have to recast Werebear a lot more, which is kind of dangerous, and it's a little bit more risky. That's why I do go max Lycanthropy. This would save you a bunch of points if you didn't. Just be aware that you will die if you transform out of Werebear in the middle of battle. You'll lose a lot of life. We have 1 point in Werebear just to have it up. Duration is not affected by the points in Werebear, so you only need the 1 point. And yes, we do need the 1 point in Werewolf to get to Lycanthropy. I think that's the stupidest decision ever. That arrow should be the other way. But we also have 20 in Maul. This is for attack rating more than damage, but the damage does boost up with it. We get a few thousand damage per hit with a max Maul. So you can see it gets up to 340%. It works. Stun length is also decent enough with it that you can kind of, if you're fighting like one or two just kind of tough enemies, you can keep them stunned. You can even stun champions and stuff like that by just getting enough stun hits on them that you'll eventually get that % chance of stun to actually kind of take hold. And last but not least is the rest of our points are going into Shockwave. Now, you could, the traditional Mauler Bear, by the way, and yes, we are actually going to try to max that out. The traditional Mauler Bear ignores the elemental tree. We're going for kind of a gimmick build here with these, and it does work. It works. It's a synergy for a reason, but the traditional Mauler Bear, if you guys are curious, and I might do a video over this one in the future as well, substitutes these out for a high-level Grizzly, usually. That, or they sub it out for Fireclaws. One of the two is usually what you're looking at as the alternative. The problem with Fireclaws is you actually do have to invest in these synergies anyway, but you can just do the Fireclaws Firestorm synergy, and that's where your 400 points would end up with. You're not going to do a ton of damage with it, but it'll do okay. Sometimes if they're just Shockwave Bears, they'll actually drop Maul and get another synergy for that for more damage. The problem with that is you're going to do very little physical damage. You're going to be relying a lot on your fire damage unless you build weapons around it. But that's neither here nor there. That's just kind of tips and advice for, like, if you want to veer off of this build. I may do some guides that kind of branch out like that, but for right now we're sticking with these kind of single ones. And last but not least is our gear. And this is kind of important. Well, actually, it's really not. The only important part is right over here on this shield that we're kind of like flickering around. But we'll cover everything else first. Grief, just a good weapon. You can get better weapons for this. There are alternatives. You can actually make a Phoenix weapon if you want to. Phoenix weapons, not too great for this variant, but they can do some fun little tricks. They actually increase your chance of doing the trick that we're doing with this. But I like the ignore target defense for just general enemies, because generally speaking, it'll let you hit most of the time. And also, the conviction helps you with the bosses. That's why we have the conviction guy. We don't have them for just rank and file enemies. The Venom on striking is absolutely useless to us, but it's a little bit of extra damage. It's not that amazing. We have Soul Drainer to get our mana leech back. If you were going Hunger, or if you put 1 point into Hunger, you can skip something like this and go for some Crushing Blow gloves or stuff like that. You may notice I don't have a bunch of attack speed off weapon. That's because it doesn't work right with the shapeshifted forms. It works, it's just you need a lot of it to have it be worthwhile, so I don't even bother. So we just have 40% increased attack speed on here. It gets us, I want to say, 8 frames per attack if I remember correctly. You can just go with a... Oh, I'm trying to remember what combo it is, but it's Shale. It's just a bunch of Shales in a 6-socket Phase Blade with some other things added onto it for some like damage or attack, a few other fun things. You can also do the really expensive 4015 Phase Blade if you really want to get faster attack speed. I'm just going with Grief. And yes, it is a very sexy Grief. It's the one that I've kept just kind of floating around. I've made a few of them in the past. This one it's the best one I've made so far. So it gets passed around like cheapness. As far as the gloves, the Soul Drainer, we're just going with, it's just Leech, and the minus monster defense doesn't really help us that much. Weaken on striking is kind of nice. It does compete if you are using a Decrepify Mercenary. It competes a little bit, but we're not, so Weaken just helps out just weakening the enemies. We've got Ravenfrost for Cannot Be Frozen, gives us a little attack rating to help us hit more. We've got the Verdungos. This is kind of a crappy Verdungos. I have not gotten a good Verdungos ever. I hate to say it, it's just how it is. I have, I want to say 7 Verdungos now, and this is the best one, so it's just kind of like, it's there. Next up, we have Carrion Wind. This is kind of on our stun cycle. So we get Twister on striking randomly, which helps us keep enemies stunned even longer. Our Shockwave does most of the work, but this keeps us stunned a bit longer. Whenever we're just dealing with enemies and we don't have the opportunity to switch over to just dropping a Shockwave out. So you don't have to use this. You could use a dual leech ring and you get some Crushing Blow gloves. You could get some other variances in here. You get plus skills if you wanted to. You get more attack rating. There's a few options. I just like this one because it's fun and it never gets used. So it gets used on this build. Chains of Honor, 2 skills, and this is here for the resists. Enigma, not recommended because the attack... I mean, 1, you can't cast Teleport while in bear form, and 2, your cast rates are kind of crap. So, yeah, this just works out. It's got damage reduction resistances. It's got plus skills for some fun. A little bit of extra strength helps you get your shield on without using as many stats. It's nice. Up here we have a Jalal's Mane. It's just a base one. You could socket a few things into it. You could put a Cham in it and end up with a free ring slot, so you wouldn't need that for Cannot Be Frozen, but I need the attack rating anyway. This gives you a few extra shape-shifting skills as well. Faster hit recovery being very important. We're actually at, I want to say 40% faster hit recovery. We might be a little bit higher. No, we're just at 40%. That just helps us keep from getting locked as easily. More faster hit recovery is welcome. If you had charms with it, throw them on there. The bear has terrible hit recovery frames. And yeah, that's going to be what we're looking at there. We have the bonus to attack rating as well. That's going to help out. All resistances, that's the main reason I use that. Mara's Kaleidoscope, again, resistances. You could go with a few options for various types of leech. You could get a actual druid amulet. I just don't have any good ones. And then we have... Oh, we also have Gore Riders. Crushing Blow. It helps. Then we have the Phoenix Monarch, which is the cornerstone of this really weird and stupid build. And you may notice the 40% chance to cast level 22 Firestorm. Combined with 2 max synergies, makes that actually do not great damage, but Conviction plus the reduced fire resistance on enemies, it hurts. It burns things away that don't have fire immunity, especially. You probably saw it with the Gloams in the Bale part. So Yeah. We also have 13 Redemption Aura on there, which allows us to basically have a portable full rejuve just every now and then randomly. It keeps us from going through potions nearly as fast. We've got the boost to fire and lightning resist max, which we don't really hit the fire resistance max or the lightning resist max. We got 77. You could get higher with charms, but that would put you at 80 and 85 for the resistances, which is nice. Gives you a little extra life. Not too many amazing things on here, just in some enhanced damage. Helps out a little bit. We're not doing a lot of damage to begin with, so it's not that big of a deal. But that's pretty much how the build works. You could pre-buff, you could throw Call to Arms and stuff like that on your alternate slot with a Spirit. You do have the strength for the Spirit, if you want to. And by the way, this is way too damn expensive for this build, but if you have the spare stuff, make it. And what this specializes in is crowd control. It is just really, really good at it. And it's a tanky boy. Let's go ahead and just smack some guys around real quick. Oh, Fanaticism. This is probably like one of the worst things we could run into. But we should still have no problem actually handling it. Mercenary might get his ass whooped here. Especially considering, where is our enemy boss? I think he's over here. So in that situation, you definitely want to make sure you have the shockwave in effect on the enemies. But you can see, as soon as we start killing things, we just immediately heal back up. That's why I love Phoenix. So many people dismiss it. And I'm going to go ahead and duck down to Bloody Foothills as well, and we're going to smack the crap out of these guys too. Because otherwise this is going to be too short of a video for the YouTube algorithm. Oh no, whatever will we do? But I would not recommend taking this into Players 8. But you can see that the Inferno from that, if you just watch the life go down, it's going to be a little hard to catch because I'm actually... Here, let's see. Yeah, see, that is how much damage it does to the thing you're fighting. And that's a boss. He actually has fire resist. So, yeah, it's pretty nasty. It's a lot... It's one of those kind of like niche builds that I love to just run around with. It's essentially just your standard Mauler Bear with my own little flair on the side of it, but I like it. Call it my Firebear for a reason. I do take it out every now and then, but I haven't gotten to play it in a while, so that's why I decided to make a video on it, so I'd have an excuse to build it again. And yeah, that's just the build, so if you guys on YouTube enjoyed this, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. As far as those of you who are watching this live on Twitch, we'll be moving on to the next build. We'll be doing the bales and all that stuff for it, and yeah, keep gaming, have fun, peace out, bye.